favorite. That song was crafted by lead singer of my band. It's essentially about a small town in Illinois called Magnolia, and basically Magnolia is a flower, and Magnolia is also this small town, and he wanted this relationship between a guy and a girl and the story to be told about how one day he could be her Magnolia, essentially meaning that if she admits that he's her Magnolia, then he's the equivalent of like a piece of her life that's equivalent to her hometown. I ended up writing it ironically on his birthday, and I brought it to him the next day, and he loved it, and so we've been kind of working on it ever since, but yeah, that one's gonna be fun. I think Phil's got this guy named Joe Spivey, who's played on pretty much everything from like Luke Bryan to you name it. He plays fiddle and mandolin, and he's going to be a big feature in this one.
Right now I feel like I could dance, like I could fly solo cup up in the air.
So that's going to be your home right in there, piano.
Looking at green little grass, sipping on a half-full glass. She say to makers, I don't want to chase her, I don't even want her ass back. Heaven knows I've seen my share of lows, but ever since I let her go.
Not one like this. I mean, it's kind of similar, but
it's like a mixer, so everybody's in there, and you can just mix them however you want to hear them.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So like, you push drums, you push piano, or keys. You'll be on the keys track.
Yeah.
Push acoustic, and then whenever you select that channel, then the volume for that instrument is here.
Okay.
And then like, let's say, vocal, up or down.
Okay, gotcha.
Click track, up or down. This talkback is TB. That's like all of us.
That's how I get to talk to you?
Just talking all to us.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to talk to us, we might be able to hear you through the piano mics, but if you hit that foot switch there, push and hold on that foot switch, that opens up this mic.
Oh, okay, to talk.
And then we can all hear you.
Okay,
Is the gang out here?
Yeah.
Okay, is this Steve Mackey?
Steve Mackey,
bass player of the
Nice
day.
to meet you.
Nice
Lynn
to meet
Williams.
you.
Lynn
Williams,
Colton,
drummer.
pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet
It's
you.
an honor.
Yeah.
And Carrie's around here somewhere.
I think
got
he
it.
walked that way.
Oh, okay. Better.
I don't know what he was doing, but yeah, he went that way.
Okay,
Where
great.
did you come in from today?
I'm from Southwest Florida, Naples.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so
That's right. Were you in the middle of all that?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. It was about an hour north of where I live, so we got pretty lucky. But yeah,
Wow.
Fort Myers is like an hour north of
Yeah,
there.
that was
like,
a mess.
Yeah, it's sad.
Wow.
It's sad up there. But
Wow.
yeah, what about you guys? Where are you guys originally from?
I'm from Texas originally.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm from
Panhandle.
West Virginia originally, but we've been here for
Yeah.
a long time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, man, this is exciting. I mean, this is my first time recording in Nashville.
Me too.
Oh, good.
So I mean, I got
First time
this-
recording ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I actually just did a record on Friday in a studio in Clearwater called Clear Track Studio.
Oh, all right.
And the guy, he co-produced a song for John Legend named Spencer Bradham. He's a really great guy. So we did a very different style. It's more like a pop style song.
Yeah.
So he was good for that. But
Cool.
and it's funny. I met Phil through another guy named Bud Snyder. He did some records for the Allman Brothers back in like the 80s or 90s.
Oh, wow.
I think he won 2 Grammys with them. And so he works out of Sarasota mostly. But he does stuff up with Joe Spivey up here. And,
Oh, yeah.
And so,
We know Joe.
Yeah, and yeah, so I think he's doing stuff for this as well.
Good.
Doing overdubs and stuff.
This is Carrie Marks.
Hey, you sound great there.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's
Nice
an
to
honor.
meet you.
Yes,
What's your name?
that's the guy.
Colton.
Yeah.
That's the man in the
Pleasure to
room.
meet you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so this is the first time up here for me, and
Good.
It's exciting. I mean,
Oh,
I
we'll
couldn't- I
run
couldn't
you.
have-
You'll never want to come back.
I couldn't ask
Never
for,
wanna
I
go
don't think I could ask for a
anywhere
better
else.
cast.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's true.
We're already wearing him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our job. Come on.
You know, this is perfect. I'm on like 4 hours of sleep, had a 5:30 a.m.
Oh.
flight, so I'm ready to go.
Good. Let's rock.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to bang, 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 thump,
Yeah.
thump.
Yeah,
Let's
let's do it.
Hello, darling. How are you? I'm on my way home right now, actually. Hey, let's do something tonight. I don't know. What if I surprise you?
All right, so essentially what's happening now is when we first did the original track of Magnolia, we were doing a heavy stick pattern, just like a boom chick sort of thing throughout most of the song. And he was doing heavy sticks like during the bridge and stuff, which wasn't bad. Actually, a lot of the stuff he did during the bridge was cool, but it just needed to be softened. And that was a really good reference called Life Without You by Flatland Cavalry. And they sort of do like this really raw, like folk sort of thing throughout the entire song. That's sort of what we're trying to create with this. I think he's doing a great job now, especially with the kick pattern and everything, and just doing it on brushes in general it helps, I think, fit the song a lot better, and it seems like we all agreed on that. So
I think you look sexy with some neon on you. There's something in the air tonight. Feels like a go-go with a double shot of whiskey.
well, I'm excited because there's the one, I'm not sure which one we're gonna do next, but if we do Timber next, that one's like a rock out song, so you can really just have some fun.
Well,
So-
cool. Well, thanks for saying
Yeah,
something,
you
man. I
bet,
appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah, I appreciate
You
it.
sound great.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Think you look sexy with some neon on you.
Now we've been in hot water, had a glass of warm wine, but always have a cooler when we share a Bud Light. Love to sit back, some old Johnny Cash and an armrest. Now our lives got us used to the burn of cheap whiskey, or the feeling that I get when a Marlboro hits me. But if anybody's looking for a long neck, we'll be here, drinking us a nice cold beer.
This is Timber. This is gonna be the fun one. This is the I tried to. It almost kind of. I don't know if I intended it to be this way, but it kind of just turned out this way. It's almost like it has a little bit of like punk rock alternative influence in it. I was just talking with Lynn about doing the drum intro. It's sort of something. I'm not sure what he's gonna do. I'm sure he'll do something great, but I was telling him like doing something bum bum bum, sort of just to lead into that opening chord. But this is a really fun one. This one is pretty much just a letter from me to my band and to also the other people around me as well. Just sort of like keeping it together, and no matter what kind of success or whatever you may have, you know, there's always some sort of perils that you meet along the way, and it's sort of your job to keep it all together for the sake of everybody else, not just yourself. So this one is called Timber, and I think we're about to start it right now. Sure. And yeah, it's cool. I love it. That's what I recorded just then. Yeah, I really appreciate it. All the basics in every song are freaking awesome.
Cool.
Bass is
Thanks,
like
man.
is I don't know. I can't.
The 6. Did
Yeah.
you mean to take that out?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
And then
No, I like it better with the F sharp.
do F sharp instead. Yeah. It's going pretty good so far. The biggest hiccup was just Magnolia, kind of getting that squared away. I wish it didn't have cold water. It's not good. In the second verse, it'll be the same deal here.
Third verse.
Yeah, third.
That was just a day of vocals.
Yeah.
So it was nothing really special. It was just cool because I like vocals. Do you want to go eat now, or
Yeah.
I could show these guys around because they've never been out here? Like take them up and around
That's fine.
and stuff, and
That's
do that,
fine.
and then we run out and eat.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Your stomachs can decide whether
Doesn't
that's
matter to
okay.
me. I've been hungry since I got here, so what's another 20 minutes?
Yeah. So this room is called the lodge.
Okay. Like that main room out there.
That main room, that's called the lodge. That other one, we're just there, I'll show you in a second, that's called Barefoot Room. But basically this whole building is all hooked up. So this is just a lounge, but if I've got a fiddle player and a full band, I'll like stick them here and they can kind of look down. Or I'll have a singer up here or a horn section. Or
Yeah, I was kind of wondering where the lead vocalist goes. Like, when, like where will I sing?
You'll sing probably in the drum room.
Oh, okay.
We'll kind of change that over for that. So like, if somebody wants to sing live and get a keeper vocal, I might put them in the small booth, with acoustic up here,
Yeah.
something.
Is that just vanity space over there? Or is that like something you could actually get into? Or what's
This tower thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for looks.
Yeah.
You can see it right from the kitchen where the coffee maker is. If you look up, you can see all the way up.
Oh, so it's like a skylight essentially almost.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
So the original, that other building, that other finished building, that's the original studio. So a lot of those older like country records were actually done in that room.
No kidding.
This place he built after that started taking off, and he just built this whole place from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Got
just
barn
like,
builders come out and put it all up.
I mean, it's like a treehouse dream almost. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's so incredible.
That's why whenever I called Phil and I was like, hey, I wanted to bring a videographer, and he was like, good. I was gonna tell you to do that.
Yeah.
because-
So this is Barefoot Room, and this is kind of our B room, so we might start a record in there and then come in and do like a couple of days of vocals. And
Yeah, it almost kind of seemed like it was like a good mixing room or something
Mhm.
like that too.
We finished a lot of records in this room.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like pop stuff and hip hop stuff, you don't need all that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll just do the whole thing.
You guys do hip hop stuff here as well?
Yeah, we do everything.
I mean, kind of.
We have a music business class. We have a full recording school over in Franklin with another one of these consoles and an SSL. And that's where we had our music business course also, but they kicked us out of the room we were in. So they're over here. This room and another one, this one's the bunk room's kind of like for bands or whatever, but I guess there's all that. That's gonna be like partially his home, the new building, partially his home, partially a big open space, like an event space.
Yeah.
So the left side is the original house that he lived in. He had a RCA deal and he was like a touring guitar player, mostly just did instrumental stuff. And then that kind of ended and he had this little home studio on the right. Friends of his just started booking, and then there was like Neil Diamond's in there and then Faith Hill's in there, and then a lot of these other country acts like just started showing up. He had a Trident and a tape machine, and he started adding a few pieces of outboard gear. And then when his deal ended, it was like, well, I guess I'm a studio owner now. And so he bulldozed this property here and put a timber frame, traded a lot of carpentry work with musicians that were also builders, and just kind of made it happen.
So basically what's happening now is we got Kenny Greenberg in here. He just recently won the Academy of Country Music Award for Guitarist of the Year. Still got Dave Hagen, still got Phil in here, but all the other Sesame musicians left. Steve Mackey's gone, Lynn Williams is gone, and Kerry Marks are gone. So we're here with Kenny. He's gonna lay down some guitar tracks, maybe some leads, maybe some licks. Sort of try and leave it open for maybe some steel guitar, some fiddle, I think is the hope here. He brought a ton of stuff. Oh my gosh, he has like 15 cases out there of just all different types of guitars, and he probably has 15 guitars in that huge case out there. And he's got 3 out there, a huge pedal board, kind of just getting everything set up. He was trying a couple different ideas for ice cold beer, which is the one we're doing first. We seem to be kind of going in the order of ice cold beer, magnolia, timber, and then whiskey. Can't Heal Broken Hearts is the last one. So pretty pumped about this one. It's been turning out a little different than I honestly thought it would, but I'm kind of a fan of it. It's been really growing on me, sort of how the drums and stuff all come together. I've been just really excited to hear how the electric guitar sort of fills everything in, to be honest. But looks like we might be about to start, so let's get after it. Alright, so we just finished the tracking of the electric guitar. Kenny Greenberg's about to head out of here. We just finished Whiskey Can't Heal Broken Hearts, which was the last one, so now I'm going to get on this. It seems like a reference gold microphone, and we're going to lay down some vocals. So pretty pumped about that. Something that's really cool that I never thought about that they do is anytime you got a sheet score stand, something I would have never thought of is put a little piece of cloth over it, because when you're singing, it'll rattle around on this metal sheet. I just realized that like the other day. So pretty cool stuff. Kind of funny, the things that you don't think about. But yeah, it's cool. They got all these little like sound barriers in here. This was actually the drum room from earlier, but they just kind of revamped the whole thing, took everything out, and yeah, pretty pumped. We're about to lay down hopefully some decent vocals. I mean, these ideally won't be the end vocals. Hopefully I'll have somebody else who can sing these, but can at least get the demo sort of thing, just the idea of sort of how they will go. But yeah, that's pretty much what's next. just got everything done, just finished all the vocals. I got my tea here. I managed to somehow go through almost 2 cups of this stuff. I think they have what's called like throat killer or something in it, throat healer maybe. And it really helps with the vocals when you're singing. Usually not ideal to sing on like 2.5 hours of sleep, but somehow we made it work thanks to those guys out there. Dave is phenomenal at what he does. He's really good at making me sort of feel comfortable, and even though I was probably bombing, he just never let me know that for sure. So it just kind of gave me a little bit of confidence boost, almost like a little placebo effect, you know. And obviously Phil's been great all day. Even when I was crashing like midway through, he was still right there producing everything. Dave was right there all the time, you know, to help everybody and be a great engineer. And you can see why he won a Grammy for doing what he does. He's really phenomenal at it. And it was just nice to be up here with everybody. As of right now, just kind of cleaning everything up. I've been hungry ever since the moment that I got here. We only ate lunch once. I felt like I could have maybe eaten it 6 or 7 times, but guess you got to do what you got to do. But it's all in good fun, and honestly, I didn't miss it that bad. It was a pretty good time here. But yeah, as of right now, we're pretty much getting ready to head out, doing our last-minute goodbyes, arranging everything, and getting all the music to Phil so he can start mixing and maybe sending it off to get mixed. And then we'll be back, probably come back here, I'm not quite sure yet, and we're gonna do some harmony, do some steel guitar, fiddle overdubs with Joe Spivey, and I don't know who the steel guitar players are yet, but we'll figure that out. That's about it. Let's go get cleaned up. Of course, in the truth, that's country music.
No, that's
Man,
Okay, now let's all go out drinking.
now we're talking.
Take me drinking on the fucking
Alright, well, the day is wrapped up. I am dead. I slept like 2.5 hours, but we did make it to the Virgin Hotel. It's looking good. It's been a long day, and there's nothing better right now than to just go potentially lay in bed, or maybe even hit the pool. We're just gonna see what happens. The most important thing on the agenda right now is food. So I'm putting the cameraman in charge of food. So if you see him, just let him know that he's supposed to find something to eat. Until then, today was a great day. A lot of great things happen, a lot of great people, a lot of great musicians, and hopefully a lot of great music will come out of this. Let's enjoy our night at the Virgin. To the 13th floor. We got a beautiful view of the city, and today was a great day. We made a couple lyrical changes. Phil had some different ideas, Ice Cold Beer being one of them. We changed a good bit of the chorus for that, and the original lyrics were, "We've been in hot water, had a glass of warm wine, but always have a cooler when we share a Bud Light." And I think the new lyrics are, "We've been in hot water a time or two, but always have a cooler when we're sharing a few." It took me a minute to kind of get used to singing that and kind of finding the right melody and tone for it, but I think it worked out, and especially sort of with the beat and everything, and all the music behind it, it certainly had a nice flow and feeling to it. We made some adjustments on some of the chords and timbre, just to kind of give it a little bit more consistency, I guess, and it's cool because what ended up happening was sort of combining the floor toms on the drums with the snare that Lynn Williams was doing. He almost created sort of like a Beach Boys sort of thing, like a summer fun kind of song, but at the same time the song sort of has like a very serious manner, but he still kind of gave it like that uplifting drive and made it a little bit alternative by doing that as well. So I thought it was a pretty great choice by him. I didn't really influence him too much. I mean, I talked to him just about doing a drum intro, and that was about it. He kind of took it from there and just really did great with it. I just was so impressed with his drumming. And it was really cool too, because, you know, when we would go to start some of those songs, when I was sitting there with my headphones on, I would hear the click track, the metronome. Len would count everybody off, so he'd, you know, hear it for a second. He would kind of like start on either like the, you know, the snare or the hi-hat maybe, so you'd hear like the click was like 1, 2, 3, 4, you'd kind of hear like getting the beat going, and then you'd hear him snapping the sticks like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then you'd miss the 4, and then, you know, the song would start, and I'd hear either guitar or whatever. And so it was really cool to actually hear a drummer like counting off in a studio like that. Usually we don't do that. I mean, and I've only been in one other studio really, and we had a totally different approach. I mean, pretty much the major changes were some of the lyrics, but very few lyrics. Though probably the song that stayed intact the most was definitely Whiskey. I mean, that one seemed to survive the test of Nashville for the most part. Magnolia, there was a couple things chordal-wise that we changed. Nothing with melody or lyric-wise. That seemed to be pretty solid. But we did make some changes, like for the bridge. Phil had come up with a really cool progression that I thought fit really well. I want to take another look at the solo because I'm not sold on it yet. I know that the concept there is to, you want to kind of create like time passing, but it sort of gets a little too intense and sort of loosen its personal touch, in my opinion. And I still want the song to be like sort of raw and folky, sort of like Tyler Childers, like Zach Bryan-esque, you know, Flatland Cavalry-esque. I think a really pretty like steel guitar or fiddle solo combo would be great there, just to kind of give it a little bit more of that raw feeling. Probably the person I was most impressed with, though, overall as a musician, was Steve Mackey, the bass player. I mean, this guy, I don't think I've ever seen somebody pick up songs as fast as him and then do things that I could have been sitting there for 20 years trying to figure out a bass line. I would have never thought of some of the things that he did that fit so well in the pocket. He picks those perfect little moments to shine on the bass while, you know, not stepping on anybody's toes. And I think what makes him so great is he's able to hear what should be there in all the other instruments, so then he can just sort of pick. That's how he's able to kind of pick those moments to really let the bass shine. During Magnolia, he actually brought out the Hofner bass. The bass itself, you know, is not a high quality bass by any means. You know, if anything, it was a budget bass, you know, back then. But now you can't find one for, you know, the vintage ones are like $3,000. And it wasn't just Phil and I arranging. I mean, those guys were very instrumental as well. I mean, we would talk to each other over the headphones just about like, hey, we want to try this, and what do you guys think? And you know, Kerry Marks came up with different ideas, you know, playing acoustic guitar. Steve Mackey would come with some things. Lynn Williams would have a couple ideas. So it was cool to just watch them all interact with each other at such a high level, and just to be in on the conversation was very grateful to have that opportunity. It was great. Another guy who made things so much easier today was Kenny Greenberg. Oh my gosh. That guy, I had no idea what this term meant. It's called cartage, I guess, and that's where people who are associated with him like bring in all of his equipment before he gets there and kind of like sets stuff up for him. Seems like a pretty sweet gig to me. He just kind of walks in and sits down and everything's pretty much ready to go, you know, and then he gets paid and he gets out. Having won Guitarist of the Year at the Academy of Country Music Awards, he certainly lived up to my expectations. I mean, and exceeded them like by a huge margin. I mean, talking about a guy who has no clue what these songs are at all and is able to identify tones, and he's able to instantly know what pedals and sounds he wants to fit that certain song at that particular moment. He's able to, you know, pick apart, this is the style that you want, and then this is a unique way of delivering that style. And so it was really an honor to work with him. And he's so soft-spoken. I mean, he's like the nicest guy ever. You know, I mean, I went up to him and talked to him about a couple different suggestions, and whether he hated him or not, you would never know, because he's just all about like trying new things and just like, yeah, man, I'll give it a shot. And what a lot of those guys have in common, that's a great quality that was taught to me by Bud Snyder, is that you can't be afraid to be wrong about something. You know, you can have an arrangement or something in your mind of how you think you want something to go. There's nothing wrong with conceding the fact that, you know, you're not always going to be right. And the thing you should always do is, even if you hate the idea to begin with, you should at least try it, because you just never know what's gold. It's not fair to go in with a closed mind of, this is how I had the song and this is how it's going to be. And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with, if that's how the song ends up, it's just like how you wanted it. But you shouldn't go in and say, well, it's going to be this way or the highway, because I feel like you really miss a lot of opportunity and miss a lot of chances to learn from other phenomenal musicians. Dave Hagen was great as well. I mean, as an engineer, he just, you know, winning the Grammy this past year. I mean, such a nice and humble guy. And we didn't talk too much, you know, throughout the day, but it seemed like we started to really enjoy each other's company towards the end when we were doing some of the vocals. Yeah, I could look in there and see him dancing sometimes while we were doing Magnolia or what have you. And he was really good at sort of making me feel as though that I, you know, was doing better than maybe I even was. It's really easy to feel like your vocal's not good enough when you're in there, or that your playing's not good enough. You kind of look to the engineer or the producer who's there, or other musicians around you, to kind of, for that validation sometimes, because you're just not sure if what you're doing fits. You know, he was always really good about, even if something wasn't right, he was good at sort of just portraying it as, okay, well, let's just take it again, no worries, we'll just take one for safety or whatever, and it would kind of boost my confidence a little bit to do better, and he makes you want to do better, being also a very soft-spoken, fun guy. Of course, Phil is, a big part of that too. I mean, he's pretty much like the biggest piece of that puzzle, being the producer of everything, and the way Phil kind of described the process of how he wanted to do things was just be there for guidance, but don't get in the way of any of these other guys. It was just cool to watch him work with all these guys that he knows that I've never met before in my life, and who knows like the extent of their relationship, but he treated them like professionals and as friends. It seemed like everybody just really got along, had a great time, and I think a large part of that was just because the way Phil was today. Or even times where he could tell maybe I was unhappy with something, like when we were doing Magnolia and we originally had those heavy sticks. Tried my best to just kind of like sit with it for a minute, but I just knew deep down that it's not what I wanted, and it's not what I heard even when I wrote the song a year and a half ago. Phil asked me like, what do you think? And I told him what I thought, and it would be easy for him to, in every situation, be like, well, I know a lot more than you, and I've been doing this a lot longer than you. And he certainly, would have the right to say that. I could not argue that at all. He didn't. He was like, well, what do you hear? Let's try it, following the golden rule. And we both decided that we loved the brushes, and it fit the song really well, and it's great, that it worked out that way. Yeah, working with Phil was a blast, Bud described him as sort of the mad scientist, which I would completely agree, because he just, he's fun, he's kind of eccentric. He's still kind of quiet though, like once you get him talking, he'll talk your ear off, but he's hard to kind of get going. He's very, very smart and very talented at what he does, and certainly a lot to learn from him, especially. He did a great job with the cat wrangling, as he calls it, getting all those guys to come together. He did, pretty much everything happened today because of him. Making calls and confirming things and spending all that time combing through all of my music and arranging things. He had to chart everything so that the musicians knew what to play, and that's the only reason they were able to walk in and just play immediately what I had written. It's so amazing. So I'm forever grateful for Phil as well, and also for Bud for linking me to Phil to even get this whole thing set up to begin with. So it was a phenomenal experience. It feels great to sort of end the night by looking over the city skyline while I wait for Luke to potentially order some food within the next 6 to 7 hours. So outside of that, it's been a great trip. Well, it is the end of this Nashville trip. This is all we have time for, unfortunately. But a special thanks to Luke for coming down here and filming everything. Busy with school and all that, so it was great that he was able to come down. It's been a while since I've seen him, so thank you, buddy. I also want to thank Phil, especially, like I said, for getting everything all set up. Thanks to Bud for even getting this whole thing started. Thanks to Dave for being the great engineer and being very patient with me and everybody today, and doing what he does best, which is great. He even had an intern there, Drew, who was helping a lot, just having him get stuff set up before we even got there. Really good, hardworking kid. And of course, Kenny Greenberg, great performance. Lynn Williams, Steve Mackey, Carrie Marks. Just an all-star team. I couldn't have asked for better people to do this first little session with. It's really an honor of a lifetime to be in the same room with those guys and to even track songs with them and to talk to them about ideas. They're so advanced and have done so many great things in their careers. I hope that I even come close to doing something along those lines one day. As for now, that was the official Dark Horse recording studio session number 1, hopefully with some more to come, some more great songs and some more great people. Until then, it's bedtime. Good night, Nashville.
Well, I'm happy you can call me your man.